Somebody left the heat on a little high. It is just freaking snowing like mad out there. Seeing a cop going down the road, lights full blazing. I might be a little bit slow and stuttery on today because we had our winter carnival last night. I'm doing something bad today. Yes, I know I shouldn't. I've been doing really good though. Lost a pile of wheat, not remember. Pretty well. I was bad last night, so I'll be bad again tonight. Here today. Check it out. Spider-Man football. Nice. And these kids left everything a mess. So some of the pucks back in. I got lots to do here. I got pages, fine print, small, and lots. So I guess where do I start here? And some of the stuff, because I take this over a couple of days. Today's the 29th of January. People have asked me to. Usually the WW3 updates, I post them the same day I make them, but I'm going to start adding other dates there every time I do a video. So there's going to be some stuff I might actually, because there's so much information out there right now. What happens is you get a bit of information and then, oh no, that was a lie, that was the mainstream media putting out this, that this is what actually happened. So you might get some of that. And I think that we're going to start right in Syria. Trump orders a safe spaces in Syria. He's talking about safe spaces in Syria. Now, people are worried about this because that could be, if you're creating U.S. safe spaces for these Syrian refugees, you also might create a no-fly zone, which this is what the worry with Hillary Clinton was. If she were to start a no-fly zone, this could possibly lead us to shooting at the Russians. Now, there's a spin on this. That part, there's no safe zone clause in Trump's executive order. I haven't read the order, and I don't know the name of the order. So, you got CNN saying, yeah, they're going to do this, and of course, like anything, the mainstream media, what they'll probably do is say, oh my God, they'll start being objective about, oh my God, as if they put a safe zone there, this could lead to a shooting war with no-fly zones. And mind you, it was no big deal under Hillary. It would have been no big deal under Hillary and no big deal under Obama. But for Trump, everything that Trump does, even if it's stuff that Obama put in, he's getting blamed for it now. You're starting to see this. But anyway, that is a big one. Theresa May. Now, Theresa May seems to be kind of getting onto the Trump train. I think just out of basic survival for Britain. You know what I mean? Because she knows, I think she sees the tides turning. She knows that the EU and everything like that is it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a mess. Believe me, it's going to be a total disaster, believe me. I'm going to have to work on my Trump impressions now. Get my hair thing going, I heard he renamed the airplane Air Force One. He's got a nice little toupee on the top. If you haven't seen that meme, the Trump memes are good. I hope he enjoys them. Mockery is the ultimate form of flattery, so I heard. Sometimes it's downright mockery, but you get the idea. But anyway, Theresa May is saying, okay, that's great that Trump is going to try to work with Putin. The first leader that Trump has met with, usually, for example, like Obama, I think the first leader he met with was over in Turkey. Which was really strange. But in this case, you have Trump's first leader is Theresa May, and that's my prime minister. I don't know what's happening there because that meeting that was supposed to go between Trump and the Mexican president, I guess my prime minister, well, the other two didn't see eye to eye, and they said, there's no point in having a meeting if we can't, if we're already going to go at it from the point of Trump saying, if we're already going to go at it from the point of view of whatever, it'd be a waste of time. And again, this man, I think he knows that. He doesn't have meetings to decide when the next meeting is. It's not like up here in Canada with the Liberals. We need a committee to decide when the next committee for the next committee is going to be. This meeting's adjourned until the next meeting. Yeah. Make work project, right? Walmart was bad. There were some Walmarts that were in basically housing some illegals and stuff like that, these abandoned Walmarts. So again, Walmarts, they seem to be FEMA camps. They're the Walmart, all of them are turning it, there's the ones with the guard towers. Like, who puts a guard tower at a Walmart? And, fence them in and all. So yeah, that type of thing. So there's that going on. Steve Feinberg, this is a deep state guy with DimeCore who's linked to George Soros, linked to the Pizzagate thing, and Trump is, he's made that guy an advisor, not financial advisor, but the economic advisor, I believe. And a lot of people are bringing him up because like he is a part of the false flag stuff. He is a part. So again, I don't know if this is a case of keep your friends close and your enemies closer with Trump. Again, Trump only has, we really have to look at what he's doing right now and judge him on his actions. So far, some people say, well, there's a lot of big ticket things that he's, like getting rid of the Dreamers and stuff like that, that he's backed out on that. I don't think he can go after the Dreamers anyway. I just don't think, like, once the media starts putting the sob stories on there, I think he'll lose that. But the illegals, I think he can get away with that are violent. Because we're deporting this guy because he just killed 3 people. We're going to deport him to a Mexican jail, that type of thing. The wall thing, again, I saw a little thing on the Mexico's wall with Guatemala, or that they're going to be building to keep the Guatemalans out, and other, Central America and all that, keep all those people out. And that if, you were to sneak into Mexico, there was a Mexican guy working for, like, Amnesty International or something like that. Could have been UNICEF or one of those kind of organizations. And he said, at best you'll be deported. If that's the best thing that's going to happen to you, everything goes down. He says, a lot of these illegals, they make it into Mexico, and then of course the cops are corrupt down there for the most part. Anyway, you end up dead, you end up raped, you end up whatever, so you don't want to go into Mexico the way the Mexicans are coming into the United States. And of course, the Trump wall, I think a Trump wall is just more of a symbolized thing. I doubt this wall will ever get finished. It'll just be like, have an ongoing make work project. Let's not, hopefully not put too, because it is a bit of a waste. And then while they're doing that, while that appeases his base, then they can work on the things like he has been working on, such as going after sanctuary cities. So he is doing what he said he was going to do to the most part. Maybe the way of he's going about it, maybe not everybody agrees on. So, you were just kick them all out or whatever. Or, it's like, okay, well, he's doing too much, whatever. But he's kind of doing what he said. So far, it looks like Trump is the man he says he is. That said, where I'm more concerned is the war stuff. So, there's a guy named George Wedd, and he's going to go to Haiti to investigate the Clinton Foundation. And this guy's also involved in Pizzagate and stuff like that. Now, I don't know much about him, but apparently this guy's like a journalist, kind of like a Ben Swan kind of journalist kind of thing. And he's even saying, if I die on my trip, if they're going to take me out, they're going to take me out in Haiti. But he just, he thinks he's willing to sacrifice his life just to get to the truth. So I think his name is George Wedd. Coming out of Latvia, there was this came from, which one was it? It was one of the British medias there. The Guardian. I think it was the Guardian. And they were interviewing a guy, and in Latvia they got like basically kind of what you have here in Quebec with like a Bill 101 here, where they're trying to, in the French language charter and stuff like that. They have something like that, but in Latvia. But for Latvia, it's different than Quebec because, we got 98% of the country's English. It should be the other way around, Well, we should just do away with it altogether because we don't need it. But in Latvia, because they've got such a large Russian population there, they're trying to protect the Latvian culture and stuff like that so it doesn't go away. So they're, I guess, like, if you're from there, you can explain it to everybody else a bit better. But the idea is to protect the culture, to protect everything like that. And they are worried, and again, we heard, it was Obama not that long ago saying that if World War III was going to break out, that's where it was going to start, is in Latvia. I don't know if they're just saying that because of the proximity between Latvia and Russia, right on the border like that, or if there was some other hot thing that might go on and fire things up. But anyway, one thing the guy was saying is, there's Russian-speaking protests and stuff like that, which the Russians do that stuff too, there's no doubt about that. And again, there's a lot of bad blood in Eastern Europe between the Russians and Eastern Europe. It goes back, under the Soviet Union and stuff like that, the Warsaw Pact and, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's bad blood there, but what they're worried about is if that they do get into it, the Russians, and the quote was something along, when the Russians start the fight, they won't stop. They just won't stop there. They'll fight to the end. Once they start fighting, they don't. That's what Latvia's worried about, is that they're just going to come in wave after wave after wave. But I don't think Russia's going to do this because they've had lots of chances to do this. They could have done this. They could have rolled tanks into the Ukraine. Russia's had tons of opportunity to start war. Now that said, things are still as intense as they were under Obama in a lot of ways, but there is some things that are changing. But what's not changing, again, 2017, these numbers keep bouncing around. I've heard numbers of 2,000, 3,500. Now it's up to 4,000 troops by May in the Baltics, but it's the most since the Cold War. Now, this is not just the United States. This is NATO pretty much across the border. So that's a lot. And, of course, tanks and everything going in there. And there's so many numbers bouncing around on that. You know, is it 3,500 tanks by the end of the year, or is it like 150 at a time? How are they doing it? Again, the exact details nobody knows, but we know there's build up there, and there has been build up there since, really noticeable since 2010. And again, don't be afraid to go over some of my whole World War III updates, because some of the stuff we were talking about back then, now you're seeing it. It takes a long. Sometimes these things can happen fast, but it does take a long time to put the chest plate pieces where they need to be. That type of thing. So. Yeah, so the Russians start the fight, they'll never stop if they start World War III in Latvia, so they're worried about that. The doomsday clock, 2.5 minutes to midnight is what it was set at since Trump's presidency, and that was up from 5 or 6 minutes or something like that. So under Obama, yeah, I think it went higher than that at one point. When one of the DEFCON 3 situations that we've been in. So far, I haven't seen it go up. I think that the DEFCON system has been pretty well behaved. Oh yes, and it looks like the Yemenis strike once again. It looks like I've heard they've already shot down a bunch of them, but it looks like another Apache AH-64 attack helicopter. The Saudi one was shot down by the Yemenis farmers again. That type of thing. The Soros rally buses. Somebody gave me the name of the company, but I was asking about it, and basically all these protesters going all over right now. You have some, I think, like at the I forget which airport it is there, LAX or whatever, for the deportation of some of these or detain of some of these refugees and whatever. And it comes from CARE. It's basically an Islamic, nonprofit government NGO group funded by Soros, and the ACLU is in there, so funded by Soros. And these are also this. We noticed there was an Islamic theme to this women's march, big time, globally. That type of thing, because I mean, the amount of Islamic women that they actually had speaking beside Madonna and the other crazy one there, Ashley Judd or whatever. They had a lot of Islamic women there, and they really are pushing that narrative that kind of slip Sharia in there, and that type of thing, and put it in as no, we're being persecuted, but it's like they're basically using that, and it comes from these guys. So that's where the funding comes from. Some of these things. These aren't organic uprisings and stuff like that. They're usually never that big, and they're definitely people aren't bussed around all over the places. So the bus companies and stuff like that Soros uses is they must be making good money anyway. The Trump thing about the anti-lobbying, for any politician that takes office between 2 and 5 years, they can't lobby with foreign lobbyists. Now, this is a very important thing here. So once, say, Obama's out of office, he can't go and join a lobby group for at least 2 to 5 years, depending on where they are. I think for him it'd be 5 years. And join up on that to lobby the government. You can't go join a lobby group right away. Now, this is important, especially with all the dual citizen Israelis in the United States. This can be a bit of a counter that we'll have to wait to see if it works, hopefully. But that is, to me, seems like it's a good step in the right direction. I'm sure like anything, it has its problems. But again, Trump is doing that. Now, right now, everything Trump has done is just executive orders. None of this stuff is passed yet by the House or the Senate, right? So, but the thing is this is what people don't realize what Trump is doing, or what it looks like he's doing, is he's putting the House and the Senate on notice. He's putting all these politicians on notice. He might be controlled oppositions. I know there's some people that they might have voted for him, but they still don't trust Trump. I myself, I was like, we're not going to know until we know. You know what I mean? Like the first 100 days, some people are going to give him that. I think there's such a mess that he has to clean up. And to do it without any sort of pain or any sort of compromise, I think is almost impossible. So just look at the general theme he's going in. So far, these all look like wins, but they're all just on pieces of paper right now. None of this is law. So, but the thing is when all these things are submitted to the House and the Senate, and you have all these people who will not pass it or work with Trump, he's basically flushing them out. We'll call it the firecracker effect. I've been using this little reference where you drop a firecracker down a groundhog hole and it scares the shit out of all the groundhogs and they just start running, and then you know where all the groundhogs are. Well, he's kind of doing that. He's flushing them out. Okay, here's all the senators that didn't vote for it. Here's all the ones that did. Name them by name, why they didn't do it, and it tars and feathers them right away because you're going against the president. You know what I mean? I mean, the same thing happened to Obama to a great degree too. But, for example, in 2012, the worst thing happened to the GOP ever was they won. You know, pretty much with a landslide in that midterm election. They won that. And all the campaigning of we're going to get rid of everything Obama was doing, this is what Trump is doing now. They could have done it, but they didn't. You know, they could have done it, but they didn't. Now he's calling their bluff again. So this is a win. It is a win. U.S. commandos doing mop-ups in Yemen. I guess they're killing off the rebels or whatever that paid for. Can't read my own handwriting here. I'll just bring it up to this side. Where was I at? Okay. Source buses. Yeah, in Iraq they found, you've probably seen it on RT there, in Mosul they found a whole bunch of like chemical weapons, looks like rockets. It looks like it was going to be mustard gas that was going into those things. They could have been old they looked like they were Soviet made, so this could be Saddam era chemical weapons, that type of thing. And it looked like the rebels were getting ready to use like mustard gas with it or something, or the kind of their own concoction. So far to date, the only proof is that the ISIS guys and the al-Nusra guys have been using chemical weapons. There has so far not been any evidence other than accusations from the State Department, which it's a complete reversal. Like right now, it's like almost dead silent on the Russia did it in a lot of ways. They can't float that angle anymore. So this is good because it does kind of buy us time, but we still have to be careful. But the idea that there is, that stuff is still there. Yeah, so the safe zones in Syria, again, with the no-fly zone, we already talked about that. Al Gore and his inconvenient truth too. There was a British court that ruled that in the Al Gore climate change thing there, or global warming thing with the hockey stick, that even though they let it go in the schools, which tells you the problem with the lobby things, is that they found 8 to 9 basically false claims in that whole thing. And again, the people that still believe in the global warming and stuff like that, this is something you need to look at because it is very clear that again, he's doing it again. So this guy, I mean, he lies and he lies and he lies, and that completely those things didn't come true. Those things were not real. So, but he's making a sequel, so God knows. So the polar bears, apparently they're fine. In 1955 there was something like 5,000 polar bears. Now there's like 30,000 polar bears. No, they're doing fine. They're doing well. Tussie Garland, she did her visit to Syria to talk to the Syrian people about the moderate rebels and stuff like that, and the ISIS thing, and who's fighting there and stuff like that. And she's come back saying that no, it's not Assad. It's these rebels from God knows where, flooding in. And so she's kind of calling the Obama administration's bluff on the reason why they're in Syria. You know what I mean? So I hopefully, people still need to go to jail for all this stuff because it's just so horrible what they're doing. Now, getting to the, more Ka-52s and Su-25s. The Russians are sending more of those. I don't know how many, but it looks like there's a new batch of those going into Syria. So the Russians, again, they're just basically getting combat training. Syria has been the best combat training exercise for the Russians. They couldn't ask for something better, right? J.P. Morgan and Morgan Stanley and a bunch of these Wall Street insiders and all that are dumping stocks again. So it's a pump and dump type of thing. Again, I'm not a stock market guy, but it looks like they're, again, what are they? I don't know what play is going on here because Trump is moving way faster than what they can in a lot of ways. So I think what Trump's probably doing is he knows they're going to probably dump the economy on him. They're going to collapse the economy on him. That's why he's doing all these executive orders, protectionist orders, so when everything collapses, he can just, this guy knows how to do a bankruptcy. He's already done it before. Do the collapse, go insolvent, right? Let the banks completely fail, arrest these bastards, do the Iceland solution. Hopefully he does that. That would truly drain the swamp, because that's where all the problems start, is with the banking system, the central bankers. And if he did that, okay, and they falter. Everybody's saying the end of 2017, early 2018 is when the economy is supposed to implode. But we've heard tons of people say this for years now, that it's going to implode, it's going to implode. But they keep kicking the can down the road. But Trump seems to be setting it up so they can't kick the can anymore. So that means when Trump's ready, he'll just hit the big red button and trigger the collapse himself. But I think what he wants to do, because he knows people are going to take the pain on this one, I think what he wants to do is do it in such a manner that he's got everything in play. Okay, bang, reset. Again, if you're going to buy food, buy it now. I always give rice a plug because it's cheap. If you know of something that you can buy, like rice, in that kind of bulk for that kind of price, like, $8-10, you can buy a 15 to 18 pound bag of rice. You can't beat that. Store it in jars to keep the weevils out, that type of thing. Just have, a little bit extra food on hand, because we don't know if he's going to hit that button preemptively and completely catch the bankers off guard. And at the speed he is going at, he's only been in power for 1 week, and he's done more in 1 week than Obama probably did in 8 years, which is probably good. But this also means the next president that comes around is probably going to be faster than Trump. Why? Because it's like, well, if Trump just rushed everything through executive order, executive fiat type of thing, well, we're going to do the same thing too. Now, some people are saying, oh, well, this is illegal what he's doing. Well, it's not really illegal. He can do this. He has the power to do this. Obama was doing it. Nobody said anything. Now, getting back to, where was it? I think I covered almost everything here. Trump's, on getting back to Syria, the 30-day plan, the order that Trump has is 30 days to come up with a plan to defeat ISIS. And this might go against the 2014 signing of the NDAA. They might have to undo some of those things, and which is not a bad thing because of what Obama did with that. Again, the media tears Trump a new one for this, but it was Obama that signed those things in the first place. You can go after Trump for the stuff he's doing now, but you can't put Obama onto Trump, right? That type of thing. Now, that said, apparently Putin and, again, this happened much quicker than anticipated, thank God. It was a phone call between Putin and Trump, and they were talking over Syria. Obviously, I'm pretty sure that it was behind closed doors, and nobody knows exactly what was said, but it does look like, let's make sure I've got everything here. It does look like, it's the last thing I covered. It does look like they are willing to work together. So this is another historical first for Trump. And that, Obama in 8 years only made the relations with Russia worse. And again, Obama was just a puppet. Now, the thing is Trump and Putin are talking. This hasn't happened in at least 6 out of the 8 years of like Obama met with Putin a handful of times and had a ton of opportunities to talk with Putin at some of these like G20 meetings and stuff like that. And of course, or G7 meeting or whatever it was. And of course, they didn't take those opportunities. So so Trump and Putin are already talking. So negotiations there, and they're talking about working together in Syria. Now, that said, that is a good thing. What will come out of it? Well, what I anticipate, if Trump is the real deal, he's going to back the Syrian Arab Army, back Putin, and basically work talks with Iran. And he won't back the Syrian Arab Army in a direct way. What he'll do is, okay, we'll coordinate so we're not bombing each other. We'll do this, we'll do that, whatever. But we'll coordinate with the Russians. And personally, all Putin really has to, or all Trump has to do is say, okay, we'll be there if you need assistance. Putin, let your guys go. Assad, let your guys go. And this is one thing that the Syrian people, again, there's going to be mixed bags out there, but so the Syrian people have been saying, we don't like Assad. I mean, yes, he's a dictator, but name somebody in the Middle East leader that isn't a dictator, right? And what they're saying is that, we have to go with Assad because if not, those other guys are going to kill us. And that's what Assad has been saying all along. He says, they're not fighting for me, they're fighting for Syria. If it was, again, is Assad a straight arrow? Who knows? But, again, he does come up with arguments that you can't really counter. Now, that said, the last on the thing. My biggest concern with Trump is his stance on China, because I think we're seeing a role reversal. This could be a Kissinger Plan 2.0. It's a possibility, or because Brzezinski wants to take out Russia, Kissinger wants to take out China, right? We have to know that. We know this. And Kissinger, out there last year, or whatever, China has to get on board with the New World Order, or the conflict will wipe us both out. This is Kissinger's pretty much word for word. And we know Henry Kissinger is one of the most evil men on the planet, same with Brzezinski. So what the plan was originally back after the Korean War and stuff like that was to buddy up to China so that they would ditch the communist system and go against the Soviet Union. But all that happened is we just built China into another, a third world superpower, the biggest superpowers in the world. In my opinion, if you're just talking military might, it's the United States, Russia, and then China. But you have to understand that Russia and China are a 1-2 punch. So they have an alliance. Now that's countered a bit by NATO. But if NATO and the United States had to take on Russia and China at the same time, Russia has enough to match NATO and the United States, military-wise. Add China on that whole area of the world is completely, the Eurasian Pacific Empire would be, an impenetrable force at that point. So, and Europe would definitely they would have war right, not on their doorstep, but inside their door, you know what I mean? That type of thing. So China, you got a weird thing going on with China, like always. Right now they're trying to buy up Hollywood, and there's going to be Hollywood movies with kind of very pro-China kind of stance coming out. Surprise, surprise, paint the communist is good and the capitalist is bad, and same it's been for 100 years now. That's going to be coming out. Plus we know China with their 271 China free trade zones that were to be built in the States. I know some of them, these economic free trade zones have been built. Not all of them are finished. Now, I think Trump will probably undo those, because you cannot have a Swiss cheese United States of, okay, well, we owe the Chinese so much debt that we're selling them this part of this land is now Chinese sovereign territory. You can't even, because this goes way back to 2010, and that plan goes way back, God knows, way before and after and stuff like that, most likely. So the selling out of the country, well, I think Trump is going to trump that. Now, China is also, looks like they're really buddying up with the United Nations, as Trump is kind of going against the United Nations, which we should be out of the United Nations. This is where a lot of this ridiculous philanthropy comes from. That's destabilizing the world. The migrant crisis, it comes from the United Nations. The bankers, the United Nations, same system. Same people running it. Rothschild, Rockefeller, Soros, Kissinger, Brzezinski, and a whole host of others that God knows how deep that rabbit hole goes. And they do have to be exposed, but they do it with the central banking. And, the United Nations is very open about their Agenda 2031 world government, right? And they use Agenda 21 and stuff like that. If you know about these things, obviously, they're not good. But it looks like China, they're at Davos saying, well, we should see, we should de-escalate nuclear weapons, which is a great thing to hear from Xi Jinping. I'd love to see the Chinese lead by example, or even the Russians out of the States. I don't care who leads by example if you're getting rid of those damn weapons. But it'd be nice if it was bilateral. Okay, we'll get rid of one, you get rid of one. We'll get rid of one, you keep the missiles if you want, just put conventional warheads on them. At least that way not everybody dies from the fallout. That type of thing. So he's out there saying that, but meanwhile, as he's saying that, buttering up to the UN, buttering up to Davos, to make China look like they're going to be for world peace and stuff, the Chinese are a conquering mentality in a very subversive way. They do basically what the Russians do. They also do what the Islamic jihadists do, is they move into an area and then they populate it with their people, and then eventually they try to claim independence. This is what Taiwan's about. This is what a lot of areas in Chinese coast. This is what it's all about. This is kind of what North Korea was about. Was the Chinese? The North Koreans are the Chinese, so to speak, and they were trying to take that whole area. That said, what they've done, while on one side of their face he's saying we need to get rid of nuclear weapons, apparently there's about a 7-second video out there of a Dongfang 31 being moved to the Russian border. Now the Russians are saying, well, they don't care because they're not worried about this, but because the Russians will be like, oh, we don't see Chinese Dongfang 31, our Topol M is in the way, oh, the little Dongfang 31, nice and cute, look how big our Topol M is. You eat that for lunch. Yeah. So the Russians aren't worried about this. Media's spitting it out pretty good. Now, the Dongfang 41, this is the one that you really, the Dongfang 31 will take out aircraft carriers, stuff like that. So I guess what they're doing, if they're going up to the Russian border, what they're doing is they're thinking more of a, defending, I guess, like a wall. Okay, you got Japan here, and you've got China here, and you got Russia here, and Mongolia, right? So I guess they're kind of getting this corner here is what I understand. So that way, if U.S. warships try to come out, say from Alaska or whatever, they got coverage there, or landing craft or whatever. And then move it all the way around, and then you can cover Japan, then you can cover South Korea, and then you can cover Taiwan or Philippines and Malaysia, and just work your way down all the way to Vietnam and Hong Kong and all those areas, and Myanmar and all those places. I think Myanmar's there. But anyway, again, I am a little hungover, so it doesn't happen too often. So if my geography's a little off, forgive me. So anyway, Dongfang 31s, they're being moved around. But the Dongfang 41, this is the one that has about an 8,500 mile range, which from the Chinese coast, it can launch into the United States. It can definitely get into there. And they carry between 10 and 12 warheads each. Now, that in itself is more of a threat, but these movements, again, nobody really knows how many of these things the Chinese have. We do know there's a carrier group that is going to be going to the South China Sea with a proposed naval blockade. Now, again, this could be, like I covered in my last video, a very, very dangerous bluff. Like that's worse than the Cuban Missile Crisis if you really think of the implications that if the Chinese countercall that bluff. So basically, you got a U.S. warship in front of a Chinese man-made island saying, you can't go there anymore. And you got Chinese warships saying, we are going there. Okay, well then you have to move us. So you'll have a standoff, which will be intense. But if the Chinese said, you know what, we'll just take them out with a fishing boat or something. Just get a fishing boat going by, and then like all of a sudden a missile comes out. Like off comes the tarps, and here goes they just start firing artillery. Next thing you know, you got World War III. Because the Chinese have about 3,000. Remember last year, maybe the year before, they armed about 3,000 merchant ships with weaponry. They could be artillery guns. Like the Chinese fire artillery guns right off the decks of freighters. So it's mind you, these things aren't warships, but the idea that it could be a sneak attack on something, that type of thing. So it's a bit of a Trojan horse, that type of thing, and they could be anywhere. Now that's one part of the bluff. Now if the Chinese aren't ready to go, and they know, okay, well we know the Chinese don't really seem to want war. They want to win a war without fighting a shot, and then so far they've been doing pretty good on it. So they've been dumping U.S. treasuries, and I think out of their $4 trillion U.S. treasuries that they hold, or bonds that they hold or whatever, they've dumped $1.3 billion in the past year alone. So this money is no longer going to be in circulation, which could create stagnation and inflation, hyperinflation in the States, depending on how they choose to deal with it. So yes, I think you're going to see it goes currency war, trade war, shooting war. Right now, I think we're just going to bounce right into trade war with Trump. So we're bypassing, because we're already at the currency war. So it might bounce in, bounce back, bounce in, back out. But the third one is depending on, and I think if Trump is the real deal and he hits that economic reset button, he's going to only do it once he's got all his, pieces in play. Because he's got to be able to take out these banksters, or they're just going to keep doing it and doubling down on it. So he has to hold these people accountable. He has to be able to name names, kick ass and take names. He's got to go Hanson brother on people if he's got to. Yeah. Cross-check all these bankers into the freaking jail, slap-shot them. Slap-shot them for the low interest rates, high stick them in the eyebrow, that type of thing. Sensible stuff. So that's kind of, if Trump is the real deal, he is signaling that he is, because again, we can only judge him by his actions, because we really don't know if he is controlled opposition or not. I know some of my subscribers like, no, Trump's the new boss, same as the old boss. Other people, well, Trump's the real deal. I can't believe you don't believe he's the real deal. Again, we've been lied to so much, it's really hard to tell if he's the real deal or not. But judging only by his actions, not by what he says, but by what he does. I mean, there's some things he's going to renege on. You find a world leader in history, not just the United States alone, but every world, Justin Trudeau's pretty much backed out on everything he said except for screwing things up. Justin Trudeau had an awesome slogan. In Canada, possible is always better. 100% agree. Can you please act on that? Do something right for once. It just, oh my God. You got Kathleen Wynne out there in Ontario talking about how she wants to kick you in the nuts with another road tax, and oh my God, like the people are just taxed to death. Geez, you're going to have to check them for a pulse pretty soon. They tax the life out of them. That's the way these people are. So yeah, politicians going back on their word is, if you get like 1% of what they say to go through that you support, you're doing good. And I think so far with Trump, again, nothing is law yet, but he's already acting. And some of the stuff is already moving into place, such as I think he wants to get the immigration issue out of the way in the first year. He's got to do that in the first year. Why? Because it's too hot button of a topic. And he's going to piss off a lot of people on one side or the other. So do all the bad things you want to do all the good things you want to do, get it done. Everybody's mad at you for 2017. And then what's done is done, and then after 2018, they're going to be mad about something else, but they'll have kind of forgot about that. And then by the time you get to 2020, hopefully you've got everything wrangled the way he wants. And at the speed he's going at, like, it's unbelievable. This man I don't think has taken a day off since his inauguration. What did Obama do on his inauguration? Goes golfing for 2 months. You know? That man's taken more days off and more vacations than any president in history. And Trump is just, love him or hate him, he's working and he's working and he's working. I think it's just because he's a workaholic and he loves it. To him, this is the new Monopoly game, whatever. And I think there's going to be major losses with Trump too, particularly on the liberty front. He is authoritarian-minded. But I think the restoration of rule of law, once we get that, then we can start to work on, okay, well, Mr. Trump, get rid of this because that was a bad law. Once the craziness goes away. That said, talking about the protesters, under Obama, a lot of these protesters, backed by George Soros, Black Bloc type protesters or whatever, they were getting in the Black Lives Matter, all that, again, funded by George Soros. And I was watching this African-American guy debating this, like, your typical feminist, baby boomer type woman. And he just freaking nailed it. She goes, oh, it sounds like you rehearsed this. He goes, no. He says, I looked at the facts. He goes, I'm 2,000 times more likely to be shot leaving this demonstration by a fellow African American than I am by any of you guys. I got problems in my community. And he goes with statistics and just fact, logic, reason that, you guys are protesting. If you want to really support Black Lives Matter, like the true version of it, you can't support this, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. He called them all out. Pretty much the same thing that I've been saying for all the time. And it was nice and healthy to hear that because this is a man who can get it. This guy's going to go places because the other African Americans that were around him were like shaking his hand. Thank you, brother. It's refreshing to hear that. The problem isn't, white on black crime. It's black on black crime is the biggest problem. And people like this are starting to throw out those truth bombs. And it's really, like this lady just walked away because, again, that narrative is getting crushed. They're losing their narrative. They're no longer, they're being debunked everywhere they're going. But that said, the real violent ones, they don't, because those ones you don't have to worry about, like those SJWs like that, you don't have to worry about because the argument shuts them up. They have no argument. So away they go. But it's the ones that, your Black Bloc protesters, which are making a huge comeback, Trotskyism or Bolshevism 2.0, well, it looks like some of these guys are getting their crackdown on them, where under Obama, they could go out and burn down their communities and whatever, and pretty much the media said, well, it's because you don't understand white supremacy and all this BS out there. And then, now you're getting that there's some of them have been arrested, and they're being charged to up to 10 years in jail for these kind of vandalisms. I mean, it's, grand larceny? Is that the word I'm looking for? It's basically, okay, if you, say you break vandalism, like say under $1,000, $5,000, whatever, there's different, grand larceny I think is, if that's, again, I'm a little bit hungry, if I'm not using, but basically you busted everything as a vandal. You busted a store owner, you burnt the limo, you burnt a cop car. Well, a cop car is what, $100,000, you know what I mean? Well, that's basically, a very, very harsh criminal offense that you're breaking there, and you're going to go to jail for that. So all these special snowflakes that have been given entitlement to just lash out, and they're going to be doing it again. There's going to be a civil war, a race war, and an economic collapse under Trump. I almost have no doubt of that. But we might avoid a third world war. And that's the only thing I really, really care about. The other stuff we can survive. You just go around it, challenge it, whatever. But the thing is that now you're seeing the crackdown on these type of people, the George Soros protesters. Which, I mean, again, everybody's responsible for their actions. And if these people are going out there doing that, they should be punished. They should be made examples of. And these examples should be harsh. 10 years, no possibility of parole. Because basically they're domestic terrorists. If they're it's like the Black Lives... Well, my battery's going low. The Black Lives Matter that, go around and burn down their own communities. That is acts of terrorism. That is acts of terrorism. And if they're charged as terrorists, not just vandals, but terrorists, you're going to see these people really, really have it handed to them. And that, I think, will mellow a lot of them out. They'll still yell and scream, but the protests will hopefully get, like I say, under Trump, with his authoritarian side, I don't think there'll be any mercy for these people, even if the media scream, oh, well, these poor SJWs, it's because they were so upset. Rot in hell, rot in that cell. You reap what you sow, and if you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime. And I think that's what's going to mellow out a lot of these people. So even though George Soros money will still be there, you might have a harder time getting the agent provocateurs to a degree. Now, what I'm hoping happens is the state agent provocateurs, like the undercover cops and whatever, that go out as black bloc protesters, like we saw in the G20, going out to start the violence. I hope they nail a couple of those guys, take away their pensions, give them 55 years in jail just for and an extra 10 years for looking ugly, and just rake these guys over the coals, demonize them, tar and feather them, make an example that, no, if you're a law enforcement, you will uphold rule of law. And that's the best thing we could get out of Trump, is the upholding of rule of law. That is so important. So if that's going to happen. Now, I think they're going to start, obviously, with these protesters because they're violent. And these protests, I think they're going to wean out as... Again, it's only a week and a half in, so, it's like, okay, so we can't expect, just the stuff Trump has done to this point. If he just spends the next 4 years just carrying out the executive orders and getting them passed and put into law, that's still a huge win in a lot of stuff. Maybe not on everything, like again, I'm against the torture. It's about principle, it's not about, okay, well, they do that to us. No, the whole point is we're trying to say we're better than them. And that type of thing. That's why I'm against torture. Yes, torture, Mr. Trump does work, but it's a bad idea, because then why are, how could we say that we uphold rule of law and have laws and due process and put people, their day in court and then convict them if they're found, guilty by a jury of their peers, and then create something like Guantanamo, not that Trump has created, but do that to get around the rule of law. That makes no sense. At that point, either you have rule of law in your country or you don't. So I'm all for the death penalty, on these type of people and terrorists and stuff like that. If you want to run these people over with tanks on the battlefield, that's fine. You want to bust them up and pull them apart with horses on the battlefield, that's fine. But once you take these people prisoners, you don't send them to Guantanamo, you send them to, I can say you could hold them, but give them their day in court. Again, hold them until their court hearing. And, be expedient about it. Don't keep them there for 15 years. If you don't have the evidence, you got to let them go. Yes, it is a danger, it is a risk, but it's rule of law. And when we start acting on that, that's when we're going to see a real major change away from corruption. There'll always be corruption, we'll always have to fight it. And again, if you're law enforcement, military out there, it's about you and your family as well. It's not us versus you. It's restore rule of law. It's humanity versus the bankers. It's nationalism versus globalism. It's the corruption versus the honest. That's what it's about. And it also keeps us out of war. That said, I guess I'll just end up on one thing. Last night there, when I went to the carnival, they had the band out there. It was pretty good. I ended up getting into a debate with ladies in the town there over... She's taking a law course. A very smart girl. And we were just in one of those debates. To me, I enjoyed it. It was very good. And stuff like that. But she was getting to the point. She's like, "Oh, Rich, I love you. Make me pull my hair." Stuff like that. It was good. It was healthy because it's good to debate and challenge. And I loved it. I was like, oh well. To me, I don't take anything personally. It was all good anyway. So everybody went back to we're just having a great conversation anyway. I enjoyed it. And I was like, I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see more of people just engaging with each other, even with opposing views, because you agree, you disagree, you agree to disagree, that's great. But you have to open the dialogue, and it has to open somewhere. And this is, I think, what is going to happen between Trump and the people, is that the dialogue is opening up, and people, they're going to have to figure out how to handle it. So that, okay, when he does what you want, that's fine, but what happens when he does what you don't want? You know what I mean? We have to be able to find a narrative around the mainstream media that has, complete social engineering and all this crazy stuff, to get around the craziness so that we can keep the high ground and can keep Trump moving in the generalized right direction. Don't expect perfection from any one man. He's just one man. Hold his feet to the fire on what he was voted for, and that's draining the swamp. And by draining the swamp, the wars are going to go away to a great degree. I'm not saying there'll never be war again, but the wars of our times, our children's, at least are being set up safer. But anyway, I guess I'll leave it at that. So if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation. Channel links down below. Thank you so much to everybody who has. Like that, rate, subscribe, share, comment, like, be true to yourself, be true to others. Always do the right thing, and have yourselves a great day. G'day, and welcome. I'm back here at the rink again. Ooh, it's toasty in here. Somebody left the heat on a little high. It is just freaking snowing like mad out there. See the cop going down the road, the lights full blazing. I might be a little bit slow and stuttery on today because we had our winter carnival last night. I'm doing something bad today. Yes, I know I shouldn't. I've been doing really good though. Lost a pile of wheat, nothing of it. Big well, I was bad last night, so I'll be bad again tonight. Here today. Check it out. Spider-Man football. Nice. Man, these kids left everything a mess. So some of the pucks back in. I got lots to do here. I got pages fine print, smell, and lock. So I guess where do I start here? And some of the stuff, because I take this over a couple of days. Today's the 29th of January. People can ask me to. Usually the World War III updates, I post them the same day I make them, but I'm going to start adding other dates there every time I do a video. So there's going to be some stuff I might actually, because there's so much information out there right now. What happens is you get a bit of information, and then, oh no, that was a lie, that was the mainstream media putting out that this is what actually happened. So you might get some of that. And I think that we're going to start raiding Syria. Trump orders a safe spaces in Syria. He's talking about safe spaces in Syria. Now, people are worried about this because that could be, if you're creating U.S. safe spaces for these Syrian refugees, you also might create a no-fly zone, which this is what the worry with Hillary Clinton was. If she were to start a no-fly zone, this could possibly lead us to shooting at the Russians. Now, there's a spin on this. That part, there's no safe zone clause in Trump's executive order. I haven't read the order, and I don't know the name of the order. So you got CNN saying, yeah, they're going to do this, and of course, like anything, the mainstream media, what they'll probably do is say, oh my God, they'll start being objective and go, oh my God, as if they put a safe zone there, this could lead to a shooting war with no-fly zones. And mind you, it was no big deal under Hillary. It would have been no big deal under Hillary and no big deal under Obama. But for Trump, everything that Trump does, even if it's stuff that Obama put in, he's getting blamed for it. Now you're starting to see this. But anyway, that is a big one. Theresa May. Now, Theresa May seems to be kind of getting onto the Trump train. I think just out of basic survival for Britain. You know what I mean? Because she knows, I think she sees the tides turning. She knows that the EU and everything like that it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a mess. Believe me, it's going to be a total disaster, believe me. I'm going to have to work on my Trump impressions now. Get my hair thing going, I heard he renamed the airplane Air Force One. He's got a nice little toupee on the top. If you haven't seen that meme, the Trump memes are good. I hope he enjoys them. Mockery is the ultimate form of flattery, so I heard. Sometimes it's downright mockery, but you get the idea. But anyway, Theresa May is saying, okay, that's great that Trump is going to try to work with Putin. The first leader that Trump has met with, usually, for example, like Obama, I think the first leader he met with was over in Turkey, which was really strange. But in this case, you have Trump's first leader is Theresa May, and that's my prime minister. I don't know what's happening there, because that meeting that was supposed to go between Trump and the Mexican president, I guess my prime minister, well, the other two didn't see eye to eye, and they said, there's no point in having a meeting if we can't, if we're already going to go at it from the point of Trump saying, we're already going to go at it from the point of view of whatever, it'd be a waste of time. And again, this man, I think he knows that. He doesn't have meetings to decide when the next meeting is. It's not like up here in Canada with the Liberals. We need a committee to decide when the next committee for the next committee is going to be. This meeting's adjourned until the next meeting. Yeah. Make work project, right? Walmart was bad. There were some Walmarts that were in basically housing some illegals and stuff like that, these abandoned Walmarts. So again, Walmarts, they seem to be FEMA camps. They're the Walmart, all of them are turning it, there's the ones with the guard towers. Like, who puts a guard tower at a Walmart? And, and fence them in and all. So yeah, that type of thing. So there's that going on. Steve Feinberg, this is a deep state guy with Dime Corps who's linked to George Soros, linked to the Pizzagate thing, and Trump is, he's made that guy an advisor, not financial advisor, but the economic advisor, I believe. And a lot of people are bringing him up because, he is a part of the false flag stuff. He is a part. So again, I don't know if this is the case of keep your friends close and your enemies closer with Trump. Again, Trump only has, we really have to look at what he's doing right now and judge him on his actions. So far, some people say, well, there's a lot of big ticket things that he's, like getting rid of the Dreamers and stuff like that, that he's backed out on that. I don't think he can go after the Dreamers anyway. I just don't think, once the media starts putting the sob stories on there, I think he'll lose that. But the illegals, I think he can get away with that are violent, because we're deporting this guy because he just killed 3 people. We're going to deport him to a Mexican jail, that type of thing. The wall thing again. I saw a little thing on the Mexico's wall with Guatemala, or that they're going to be building. to keep the Guatemalans out and other, Central America and all that, keep all those people out. And that if, you were to sneak into Mexico, there was a Mexican guy working for, like Amnesty International or something like that. Could have been UNICEF or one of those kind of organizations. And he said, he says, at best, you'll be deported. If that's the best thing that's going to happen to you, everything goes down. He says, a lot of these illegals, they make it into Mexico, and then, of course, the cops are corrupt down there for the most part. Anyway, you end up dead, you end up raped, you end up whatever, so you don't want to go into Mexico the way the Mexicans are coming into the United States. And of course, the Trump wall, I think the Trump wall is just more of a symbol.